Rock climbing is one of the most unusual human activities. Is it a sport, a game, or just foolishness? For some, it is a romantic adventure. For others, it's a way of life. But for all those involved, it requires pushing oneself to the limit, mentally as well as physically. In the eastern United States, sandstone rules and steep rock is the latest rage. Fantasia at the Red River Gorge of Kentucky. Majaja at the Little River Canyon in Alabama. The mighty Zeus at Moore's Wall in North Carolina. The lactic acid bath. Mercy Seat. And Titan's Dice, all at the New River Gorge in West Virginia, are 6 of these steepest routes in the East. Pull out that chalk bag and tighten your harness as some of these strongest climbers crank it out on the South Steepest. The Red River Gorge of Kentucky is one of the most promising and unique climbing areas in the country.
We'll check it out. Red River Gorge. It's right there in eastern Kentucky. Prime sandstone extends all the way down here. Not too far away is Big Bone Lick. Don't forget, Red River Gorge is right here. It's Bad Omega.
Hey, you fellas rock climbers? Yeah, man! All right!
likes them. Wonder wonders, sorry, not my style. 30-foot roots, sure, why not? If you're a 3-foot midget. Power, if you're talking about it, you ain't got it. Yes, bumps, ask any of my girlfriends, they'll tell you all about that. None of fibers, weekend warriors, estate babies with inheritances. People bring their pets to the crag. People who feed the system, who are fed by the system, they ain't got a clue. Let them stick to golf. Big business planning, I don't plan for DuPont, I don't plan for Hot, I don't plan for Monsanto. You ain't ever gonna see me decked out in Patagonia toting brand new gear. Climb the lift the climb.
Tim Tula came through here a number of years ago, just driving by on his, when he was scoping out crags in the south just for kicks for his guidebook to the world that he'll never finish. And he saw that thing right off the road. And just stuck in his mind, and I talked him into coming out here after I started putting up some sport routes last winter. And that was the goal, to go out there and get that thing equipped, red pointed, and worked on it for one day. Got a rope down on the top half of the steepest part, and then it was just impossible to get any directionals in, so we assaulted it from the ground up, hooks. Got the thing going about halfway up that steepest head wall. Throwing the bolts, hauling up the hilty. Then did the rest, just jugged up the line that was fixed with directionals. And worked on about 3 days, red pointed like the third day. And we're hanging out there, working on the thing, working on red pointed. They were digging ditches on the side of the road to keep the drainage right on the road so it wouldn't wash out under the pavement. This old guy standing there with the sign said slow on it, or construction or some shit, and he's up there just looking at us. We're looking down at him, and Tim yells down to him, here, how's it going, what's up? And he's like, hey you boys, or you can have my part of that. Just kind of pulled out a cigarette, lit it up, kind of looked on down the road. These 1,000 miles of cliff or more. It's just a matter of finding good section, bunch of roots, concentration of roots near the road. You don't need to walk. Access. Don't need to walk too far. So it's pretty much one-man effort putting up roots. I've probably put up about close to 50 roots since, I guess, December of 1990. And it gets expensive. I'll probably spend about $1,000 on bolting gear in the last year, and here and at the New River Gorge, but most activity's been up here. And yeah, if there's Doug would show up here for a season, and a couple other people would drill, or all they want to do is put up new roots. This place, it'd just be busting with activity in no time. Rip. It's just a matter of walking cliffs, and you can keep walking and finding stuff that's good to climb.
You can count on
it's just a matter of when do you stop looking, when you start drilling and putting up roots. Yeah, it's hard to say, you know. You can spend all your time just walking cliffs, and you can never walk all the cliffs around Red River. You don't go down that way, you just go on straight.
Yeah, there's a little road right up there. You'll see what? See that open place in that corner of my fire?
Oh, just right there. Okay. All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Well, what's going on right here, right now, is we're going to have a little access difficulty. We see some jewels out there sitting, but damned if we ain't stumped on how to get to them. Luckily, we had a little bit of local guide there. We call them porters, Sherpas, whatever, hillbillies. Man says he walks those cliffs daily, probably solos out them. Have the topo map, which is very useful in this day and age.
Right about
Right about here.
Right about here is where we are,
Right
and
about
right over
here.
here is where we need to be, and we got shorts on so we don't want to thrash. Well, what we have done here, saw this clip from one of the dirt roads, consulted the topos, found the easiest approach, hiked across Hell for Certain Creek, full adventure bushwhacking, complete with rotos and all. Have found Milo Cliff back that way, really solid, but it's slab. And now we have come to the amphitheater with the deluxe 25-foot finger crack, followed by a 30-foot overhanging head wall with a finger crack, and numerous other overhanging roofs. We still got about 1.5 miles of cliff left to search, and I have the feeling it will be just as rewarding. Daniel Boone. He was hating when he got stuck in here, man. Daniel Boone huts everywhere. That guy, he couldn't get out of here. He was lost. He probably named all these creeks like down south here. There's Hell Creek. You got in there. This must be hell. Walking around. Comes in there, drainage guy. That was hell. But this is for certain. It's hell for certain creek. I mean, that guy was just lost. Indians laughing at him.
The Deep South has a well-known reputation for many things, such as its Bible Belt and its declining tobacco growing industry. For climbers, areas like the Little River Canyon in Alabama are gaining popularity. Crags where good old boys and rad boys pull down on steep rock.
I'm a goddess, man. That's right, man.
Oh, God. Is that insurance?
Yeah.
You got insurance, huh?
All insurance, yeah. I got a plan, man. I'm my social security and everything, see?
Now, do they pay you or you pay them?
I pay them, they pay me too. Got to throw in them.
See, I meant to do that.
Shannon, what's best kind of tobacco?
Oh, I think Sir Walter Raleigh is probably the nicest, mildest. This stuff is like the full-on head rush drug.
You get Sir Walter Raleigh in the can?
Yeah, but you gotta let him out or else he's gonna suffocate. A southern accent invitation? We gotta do mumble a little bit. You guys don't have it. Goddamn, I like this rock here real good. Goddamn. I like it down here in Alabama. It's a nice country. Good hospitality, too. Y'all. Right.
Y'all.
Now, in all honesty's sake, it's awesome. The rock here is fantastic. And sport climbing is really some of the best I've ever been. I've been, you know, in the world that I've ever been to.
If this place, Little River Canyon, New River Gorge, you know, a couple other places around here in the south, if this was in the west, there'd be routes everywhere. Yeah. Everything would be completely altered. This is, you know, I think the southeast is perhaps the best place to sport climbing in the country.
Well, I thought you asked for butter bread. That's what you said. Well, you give me love and getting blood. It went right to your hand. Don't walk away. Don't walk away. Now, don't you see? If it's all right with you, then mama, it's all right with me. Say goodbye to all the friends of mine. Goodbye to me. Goodbye, so when you close your eyes, goodbye to what you see. Goodbye to love. Goodbye to hate. It's all right with you, little girl. It's all right with me. Get out. Well, you must have read the rules all wrong on Major life's locomotive. Well, night goes the day, and day goes in the night. And the spectacular sight, the molecular spice, and the crew alive. I didn't know if you want to give you a slice of my locomotive. Climb on the Senate car. We're rolling, so cold in, legs shut down, blow steam, work it out, no kidding.
The name for the route, Majasha, came from the lyrics of a song that we used to listen to, Porter and I, by a guy named John Wayne. It's kind of a funny rock band, and they had a song, Texas Jail Cell, and they talked about Majasha in the song, and we never really knew exactly what it was that they were talking about, but we liked the name of like the way that it sounded, and so that's what we used for the name on that route. Here you'll see when I'm climbing Majasha, I did have a very serious shoulder injury. I had torn a fairly large mass of muscle off the scapula on my back, the rhomboid in particular. I had a couple of weeks prior to that been doing a training day at Lizard Wall, and I had knocked out about a dozen 512 pitches in a matter of about a half a day, and then for a little more training was bouldering at the base of the wall and got kind of iron crossed out in a traversing situation, and just was so exhausted the weak link just went, and that happened to be that particular muscle, and just ripped it right off the bone. And I tried to climb for the next couple of weeks off and on, and this particular ascent was the final straw. The pain just got too great, and this was the last time I climbed for quite a long while, and this particular injury ended up taking about 5.5 months for that large piece of muscle to reattach itself thoroughly to the bone. I climb almost exclusively on sandstone. One reason for that is obviously that in the South, the sandstone is the best medium. It's the steepest, most solid rock there is. Most climbers that I see out at the crag that are fairly committed to the sport, that are putting in a good amount of time and work into their climbing, are looking for challenging sport climbs generally, and generally they want to climb steeper and steeper stone. Regardless of their fitness level, they want to be climbing oftentimes on the steepest route that they can physically handle. People love to go to the glory hole, and if they're only at a 12A fitness level, they love that easiest link up in there. Maybe it's not the best route in the hole there, but it gets them on the steepest stone possible, and there seems to be a real desire among climbers to at least sample that sort of climbing, and most people get hooked on it. They love the dynamics of the moving over really steep stone. It's really exhilarating to get into such outrageous situations that maybe from the ground look unclimbable just because of the angle.
The question is, though, we've been wondering, does Doug Reed shave his chest?
See, no unsightly stubble. We pluck them about once a month. Want to feel?
If you had more, you'd have to probably get waxed. I know, that's what I suggested.
It's not Mount Olympus, but Moore's Wall in North Carolina is the abode of the mighty Zeus.
Hubris is when mere mortals have the audacity to aspire to godliness.
What do you say to that, Todd?
I guess I'm hubris.
Say it with pleasure.
Now the next trying to run 65. People talking.
rockheads out there, you better come down here and come down and eat my pizza and support me while I'm here. Otherwise, I'm going to be starving to death, and you'd be probably eating my goats.
Last but not least is the New River Gorge in West Virginia. With over 1,200 climbs and an abundance of high-quality rock, the New ranks as one of the premier crags in the country.
Welcome to the jungle. You know, this kind of reminds me of the knob. Hope I don't get delayed stress reaction.
Goddamn right, we're all Americans round here.
Look out, John Sherman. I'm a bad man.
Lactic acid, it's so steep. It's a powerful climb. I had a friend once who told me that climbing was kind of a silly thing to do and that I'd eventually get over it. And maybe it is, if you think about it, climbing, you know, trying to start at the base of a crag, going to the top, people might think it's kind of a bizarre thing to do. But if you think about basketball and, you know, bouncing a ball from one end of the court to the other and throwing this ball through a small little hoop, I mean, that sounds pretty silly too. The attraction to steep rock is that it's very gymnasticsy. The moves, the inventory of moves is a lot different, and there's nothing like that feeling when you grab a nice big jug and your feet cut loose and you feel very secure. Then if you take a fall, it's just nothing but, you know, you're just cushioned by air and you're not going to slam into the rock or anything like that. there is definitely something to be said for climbing steep rock. I wouldn't give it up for anything. Somebody asked me what the best thing was about climbing on slab, and all I could say is that there is no best thing about there is no good thing about climbing on slab, except if I really had to say something, it helps me to work with my feet better. Climbing in the south, you'll find that the people are really friendly here. There's definitely a little bit of a difference between climbing here and, say, the west, and I think they're a lot more competitive out west. And they're a lot more numbers oriented. Not to say that people here aren't, because people here want to climb hard and they're concerned about the numbers too, but they're not as vocal about it. Training is important for any climber, especially if the climber's not full time. It took me about 3 years before I did my first 513, which was survival of the fittest in the dunks. When I'm not being a full-time climber, I definitely train, and it entails a lot of cross-training, especially during the winter, where I'll try to keep aerobically fit, and I'll do some weights, and I'll also be training on an indoor climbing wall. And I try to do this, at least 5 times a week. When I chose to do my residency in emergency medicine in North Carolina, because it was closest to the new, I looked for a house that I could rent where I could put a climbing wall in it. And I now have over 600 square feet of climbing wall, and most of it's very steep, more than 45 degrees, a 13.5 by 11.5 foot roof. I have over close to 400 holds, and I'm getting more holds. It's been really helpful in working on my weak points, like lunging. I've never really been a lunger, and I've been able to practice that on the wall, and I think that in the long run this wall will make me a better climber. Working full-time and trying to keep up peak performance in climbing is a difficult thing to do. It requires a lot of discipline, and also it's kind of difficult to keep your peak performance when you have a lot of other things going on and trying to concentrate on the work that you're doing. But at the same time, I think in the long run, it'll be a really good thing to have 2 things going on at once, that especially if the focus is just as essential for each one. As far as root development is concerned, men tend to develop more roots put up more roots than women do. There's probably men probably have more of a territorial nature than women do. That probably plays some role in that. Also, women are relatively new to sport climbing, so they haven't gotten to that point yet where they want to start developing roots. Personally, I think it'd be really great to develop some new roots and put up some new roots. I'd just like to have a little more time to be able to do it. As far as women having an influence in sport climbing, I think that's true to some extent, because more women are showing up at the crags, so it's changing the atmosphere to some degree. As far as women having an impact on the development of sport climbing, I don't think that's necessarily true. Sport climbing would be going in the direction that it's going in, regardless of whether or not women were involved. It's not much of a question for me. I know where my heart's at, and it's definitely with climbing.
The weather of your gorge is really lovely. I mean,
yeah, a few days ago you were ready to just pack up and go home when it was raining, right?
Everybody, you take the newspaper, you check the percentage of rain, and you expect that it will be wrong.
Yeah.
But one thing I can say, it's even when it's rain, you can climb. So even if the weather was not very good for our trip, we have very good time.
Go for it, Todd. I got you.
Oh, boy.
The Bridge Butchers has some of the finest trad routes in the New River Gorge, with ratings from 5.7 to 5.12. The Bridge Butchers sports the hardest, raddest trad routes around. Let's see what's going on at Bridge Buttress these days.
Man, my life is devoid of style. I just tool around in this van, and that's the only home I've got. And except when somebody's kind enough to take me in for a few days or a few weeks, and just travel around from one climbing area to the other, and just, you know, try to go where the good routes and the good climbing is, the good weather. You know, people ask me, how long are you going to be here? And I say, I don't know, as long as it's good. And then they ask me, well, where are you going to go next? And I go, I don't know, wherever sounds good. You know, that's my lifestyle. I'm just a traveling climber. You know, I used to have this high-paid corporate fast-track job, and I was pretty successful at it, but it was driving me crazy. You know, I didn't get anything out of it. I had a big, expensive house, a couple of really nice cars, and all that shit. That's what it is, shit. But I sold it all, and what I didn't sell I gave away just so I could live like this. You gotta ask yourself, is it worth it? Yes. The thing that makes it seem like it's worth it is having routes like these over here to climb. Otherwise, it'd be kind of a waste. My mother always asks me when I'm going to go back to work, settle down, get married, raise a family. Actually, she hasn't asked me that in a while now. Maybe she's getting used to the idea. I think anybody can pretty much get used to this lifestyle, even dogs. I think to live as a traveling climber, to climb full-time all year round, it's not something that anybody can do. It takes a special kind of person. It takes some patience, some determination. You gotta be willing to put up with all kinds of shit, because everything goes wrong, you know. Once you take climbing out of just your weekend context and make it a full-time thing, all kinds of shit starts going wrong, you know, and you just gotta figure out how to work through all that and just keep motivated, keep enjoying it, and keep improving, basically, despite anything that might set you back. It's definitely takes some imagination. You gotta have some imagination to be able to keep at it, because otherwise, you'd be bored. You'd be bored pretty quick. Climbing, to the weekend warrior, climbing is a kind of an escape, you know, but once you take it up full time, once you commit to it, it's not an escape anymore. There's nothing to escape from. You're just faced with the hard reality of the rock, day after day after day. That's a tough kind of reality. Every once in a while, you come across something that's like a gift. It's like a gift from God. You know, I don't believe in the kind of stuff that they teach you in Sunday school or anything like that, but every once in a while, there's something that's there that just convinces you that we are meant to rock climb, because it just wouldn't make any sense otherwise. You know, that's what I mean by you come across something that's just a gift from God. You ever see those rock climbers up there at Kmore?
I didn't see rock climbing there. We told a man was down on Earth. What do you think I told about rock climbing lived on Earth? What NT10 they were. And then me and Boy Scout teach you a little bit everything about life.
Yeah.
I got control of my stuff.
There's no sport routes that are any good, but dude, that crack is ready to rumble. Would have been done 15 years ago in any other area. It's like this. Perfect hands to fingers.
Slab.
Straight up, straight in.
Where you come from, it's gone. And where you thought you were going, you're never there. And where you are ain't no good unless you can get away from it. And that's where the car comes in.
Oh, steep climb forever. I'm not very good in slab. I don't like that. I think it could be fun sometime in easy grade, but not. I don't like too much. The biggest difference, I think, it's in sandstone you have no intermediate between the holes for your foot and for your hands. So if you have not the right size for doing the move easily, it could be very, very hard. So it's a rock quite difficult for small people, I think. For people who are not very tall, it's difficult to climb. And also, in New River, most of the routes they have very hard boulder problem on it, and there is not too much stamina. So you need good power. And in limestone, stamina is more important. It's for that French climbers, they like a lot to be strong in stamina. It's very similar to Fontainebleau near Paris. It's a boulder area, but the rock is maybe more smooth in Fontainebleau, but it's exactly the same rock. I can speak for the French. I think that the big difference between the two scenes, it's French scene is much more competitive between the climbers. There is a lot of friendly competition between the climbers. So everybody climb together in the same, reach big cliff. So the level grow very quickly because there is a lot of competition. And I think here there is not so many competition between the climber and between the people different cliff, East Coast, West Coast. So not enough contact between climbers. I think in France it's obvious when you go to a cliff like Bux or anywhere, you see so many good climbers. It's a normal game. Even if you are not in good shape, you see better climbers than you every day. The average for on-site for a good climber, it's 7C, that's for sure. 12D, something very, you see that very often, climber flash 7C. And after work, it's about 8A, 8A plus, 513B, BC. From my point of view, I prefer to bolt the routes and after try, and like that I know exactly what I need for climb the route. And if I have not enough strength, or I can walk, make a good training and be strong enough to climb it. So I prefer this way, but I understand that people can do another way. But for the motivation, I think it's better to put the bolt. Like that you have more pressure to do the route. All the time in my career I did always that. I mean, in this route is Smith, I have tried 2 years ago. I was maybe not strong enough at this time. And I did that for many routes. Some routes I have bolts and I success 3 years after I put the bolts in it. I mean, I think it's very good because you keep in your mind, you keep the idea you have to be stronger for your project. All the 514B, for example, that it's 8C, they are not more than 30 feet. For example, 6 move in Noble, 82 move in Just Do It. And the 15 last move are the hardest, so it's completely a different way of climbing. I mean, yeah. It's in one way it's very hard to compare. Also, to compare routes like Hubble, which is more a boulder problem, and Just Do It, which is a very long pitch of climbing. Maybe it's not the same kind of climber who can do the both things. I think. I have climbed most of the time in the West Coast, but I think for sport climbing hard routes, Smith I think stays the best because you have many 13D, 14A, everything. So for this type of climbing is very good. For on-site climbing, I think there is more routes here, for example. Where everything is nearly done in Smith, so it will never, it's obviously not a futuristic crag. I mean, it's, I don't see everything in New River, but it looks a lot of promise. Climb for fun, I mean, for fun, because I like that, that's for sure. Because now, you know, I'm 30 years old. I climbed for about 15 years, a lot, so I climb now because I like it. Putain de vue de merde! Ce combat! C'est animateur, c'est bizarre. I look at the diet of dog Reed, the famous dog Reed, and his diet is incredible. Drinking beer every night, and, beer and potatoes every breakfast. It's very good. He has a very good diet.
Watch me, Snide. Don't give me no rope. Back take.
Alright, go. Got ya.
Got me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna get used to following yet.
Just clip it in, dude.
Just clip. You can make the clip right there.
Okay, I got
One hand, just
okay,
one
got
hand,
me.
dude. Come on.
Bye, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.